What up, y'all? It's your man, Abuamerican. Collife.com. You know what's up. Abuamerican.com. You also know what's up. So this is a message to the sisters. And, this is a piece of advice. If you want to marry a high value brother, you got to stop doing this. And what is this? First off, let's talk about the situation out here. Brothers and men in general, but since we're talking about brothers, since we're talking to sisters in specific here, brothers have been told that in order to get what you want in life, you have to build it. And it's true. There is the burden of male performance. And if you sisters don't know this, then you're going to learn it now. There is a burden of performance placed upon men. We don't have any sort of intrinsic value like women do. We're not ashamed of it. Nobody's jealous. It's just how it is. When you're born as a woman, you have an intrinsic value, and your duty as a woman is to maintain that value. Unfortunately, a lot of women nowadays, both Muslim and non-Muslim alike, they spend a lot of time doing their best to trash their value. From doing dodgy stuff with multiple dudes to just their behavior on the internet, the way they behave. And that's not just in terms of like men, it's just in terms of how they view and discuss and talk about men. Yes, that lowers your value in the eyes of man. Nobody wants a male hostile, woman. Just like a woman doesn't want a man that's a misogynist. Women don't want misogynists, so why would we want a misandrist? So it's upon women to maintain their value. So we've been telling brothers to get the life that you want, which includes the woman that you want, that he wants as a man. He has to become high value. And see, the thing is, when you're high value, and I think a lot of women know this intrinsically, you have options. And so high value brothers, in specific, since we're talking to sisters, they have options. They're going to have options not only locally, where they're from. We're going to speak about Western brothers, since I predominantly speak to brothers in the West. They have the option to travel. So they are not limited to the choice of women in his community in the same way you're limited to the choice of men in yours. And this is multifold. Like, a lot of women just don't travel to get married. There's the expectation that a man is going to come to her to get married. She's not going to go to him. Now, it does happen, obviously. But for the vast majority of women, they want a man to come to him to prove his value and his worth, in a sense, and hers also, that he wants her, that he can come to her, that he just women want the man to come to her. Even if you have very poor third world sisters out there marrying Western brothers, you don't see brothers out here paying for tickets for them to come visit to meet them so that they can decide if they want to marry them or not. No, they actually go to the sister out there. So for you, it's multifold in the sense that, or the difference is multifold, because you don't want to travel to a guy. What kind of guy are you going to travel to? So, he doesn't really want me. He can't afford me. All these types of things are going to be going through your minds. Men, hey, they're going to do it. And so the higher value a man or brother comes, the more options he has, the more doors that are open to him to marry. And, under no circumstances are there only pretty women in the West. There's pretty women all over the world. The difference is there are women who are more feminine in their nature and submissive in their nature. And yes, whether you like to hear that or not, we know that this somehow has become a dirty word. I don't know how. Even though you look at the history of the Sahabiyat, and that's exactly what they were. They were, feminine and submissive women. It's somehow become, a disparaged term because we've adapted Western ideology in terms of feminism. That makes them more appealing to a man, So anyway, there's no expectation of, high value and reward just because. Men are told to build your value to get what you want. Women, you're told we deserve this and we deserve that just because. You could have the worst personality. You could have, the worst figure. You don't take care of yourself. You just eat trash. You're overweight. Oh, body positive. Stop body fat shaming me or whatever else. Y'all just have this idea in your mind that you deserve the best when it comes down to men. Just because you didn't do anything to earn it, which you can't do anyway, other than like you can't earn a high value man. And we're gonna get into the point what I made this video for, but just some basic understandings before we get into this. You can't earn a high value man. You're going to university, getting a degree, making 6, 7, 8 figures. I don't care how much money you make. It doesn't attract a high value man. It's the opposite. It actually repels high value men. Generally, what it takes to complete university and make it in the career world, it requires disagreeability, a disagreeableness in your personality. It's required almost, And so what does that do to a high value man, which is going to come into what I'm talking about soon? It makes you unattractive because your competition now is the McDonald's girl, or the ASDA girl who wants to get out of there, or the third world girl who wants to get out of her situation and into the life of a high value man who's going to take care of her more than anything else. So she's going to do no matter what it takes to get it. Now you might think, hey, that's manipulative, whatever else. Hey, it works. If it works and she's going to do it, and he's going to be happy and she's going to be happy, whether or not it's manipulation, if it's wrong, whatever else, that's arguable. But give me a second, put this on mute. But you, on the other hand, I have a degree, I have 6 figures, this, that, the other. I ain't got to do this. Wow, I'm gonna do dishes. I'm a master's degree. I'm a doctor doing dishes. And you start putting on these attitudes and whatever else. It's unattractive. But I don't even want to get into that right now. Generally, you won't get that far with high value men. And if you have this attitude and you're married, I hate to tell you this, your husband's not high value. He's not. He may have a good job. He may, make some decent money, but that isn't everything that makes a man high value. If he tolerates that type of behavior from you, you've married a low value man. And I'm not trying to wreck your marriage or whatever else. It's just, hey, if you're happy, you're happy. Just understand that you didn't get a high value man. You just got a guy who figured out like the basics of life and he made it work. That's fine. That's fair enough too. That's fair enough. If you want that, that's fine. But most women want high value men. And so if you want a high value man, stop doing this right here. When you meet a man, and this can help you filter out low value men also. It also works as a filter. Stop asking him interview type questions. It's not a job interview. Just don't do, what do you do for a living? What do you this? What do you that? What do you do? And you're just asking him all these things about his career and this and that and whatever else that has nothing to do with who he is. I understand. You see, the problem is, I understand what you're doing. You're trying to judge what he does as a factor into deciding if he's high value or not. Was he doctor? Oh, he's high value. No, it's not true. You know how many geek doctors there are out there that are just complete, he's a nerd. He's a complete nerd. And he did well. I'm not hating on these guys. They do well. Alhamdulillah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Go get it in life, guys, no matter what. If you're a geek, if you're a nerd, if you're an absolute social dork, there's nothing to prevent you from doing better in life. There's going to be those sucker women. They're going to, fall for that. Just make sure you understand that's what they're going for, brothers, and take advantage of it, because they're women nowadays, they're like this. They have blinders on, and so all they see is your career and your money. So use it to your advantage. Absolutely, completely, and totally manipulate it to your advantage, because they're doing the same thing to you. And let there be no doubt or no question about it. Don't be, of course, malicious with it. But if you want something like a sister or something in particular, and she's just only asking you questions about your job, your career, this, that, the other, house, car, whatever else, and it feels like a job interview, and you really want her, just understand what the score is. I'm not going to say gold digger, but it's close enough that where it's like she's not really interested in you. She's interested in the lifestyle that you can give her. And so, sisters, stop doing this because it's obvious to a high value man. You know why? Because high value men have options. And men who have options have experience with women who are interested in them as opposed to interest in what they can provide them in terms of a lifestyle. If you're having trouble getting high value men, it's because you're coming at him with interview style questions that he doesn't find interesting. This is a guy who has mostly what he wants in life. He's got the job, he's got the money, he's got his big boy toys, he's got whatever, he's living how he wants to live in his house, how he wants to live, whatever else. And then you come along and you start asking him like interview style questions. And he's just thinking like, and a high value man will think like this. He's going to think like, man, my life is good. Why she ask me questions like she's going to bring something to my life? Like if there's some slot that I haven't filled, and technically there is a slot, maybe if he doesn't already have a wife that he hasn't filled, which is in terms of a wife. But when you ask interview style questions, it like brings it down to his worldly like business type mentality and his material life, which he's filled. He's not looking for that. He's looking for a partner. He's looking for a woman who's interested in him, who he is. And we understand that men generally are not loved for who they are, but for what they can do. So that's fine. We understand already, like, okay, she's approaching me because she sees I got something. In the same way, you understand why guys approach you. This guy wants to smash. Perfectly fine. It's just what you do. It's how you do it. Permissible or impermissible. Obviously, this is the difference. It's perfectly fine to want to smash, but smash permissibly, right? So you understand what the score is when a guy comes up on you and he's looking at you with that like, you know what's going on. You don't think a high value man doesn't realize the same thing? Dudes ain't suckers no more. There's so much going on with this red pill, this, that, the other, manosphere, this one, that one, just life coaches, just teaching guys, brothers also picking up on this stuff that, we need to be on the lookout for women like this. We need to be to look out for ourselves and what we want in life and to make sure we get it. We didn't work all this, like, work ourselves to death to the bone almost, so that we could, just be taken advantage of by some, money hungry sister. And brothers are catching the message, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So if you want a high value man, stop asking these stupid interview style questions. What do you do for a living? Oh, yeah. What kind of car? What you work here? What do you study? What school did you go to? It just says you're boring. It says you're boring and you're only interested in what I am, not who I am. And who are you going to marry? If he's a doctor, if he's an engineer, if he's a business owner, you are not marrying his job. You are not applying for a job at his company. Stop asking him about stuff like that. The first thing that really bothers me when a woman talks to me, yeah, I consider myself high value. I don't care what y'all people think. I've done my work. Alhamdulillah, I'm living life now. Took a minute, but it's working out. Alhamdulillah. The first thing I just think is like, man, this is like, you're so boring. It's the first thing that pops in my head as a man when I hear a woman asking me, what do I do? I'm not like, I'm this and that at such and such company. Oh, who. And I can do that. I can brag. I have a job I can brag about. I can brag about it. Easily can brag about it. It's boring. It's boring. The moment, what do you do? I'm a killer whale aggression therapist. No, yeah, but and they keep pressing and keep pressing. See, and that's another thing. When a guy, he's finally tired of those questions and he wants to bring some like entertainment and some fun into the conversation, and he responds with something like that. I'm a killer whale aggression therapist or something along those lines. A lot of you sisters don't catch social cues. you're like, now you're the awkward dude. You know how you run into those socially awkward dudes? Now you become the socially awkward person by not catching the fact that it's like, hey, he's keeping it light, he's keeping it entertaining, but he dodged the question. Or you're like, yeah, he dodged the question. And instead of just waiting and looping back around, it'll eventually come out, because if you want to be a part of this guy's life, if you're actually exploring that idea, then it'll come up eventually anyway. And instead of like taking the social cues and like, just, all right, let me just give this a pass. What do? You keep pushing. What does this do? It shows that you have high disagreeability. You keep pushing. It's annoying. It's like, man, how unattractive. She's so just, why are you so pushy? Which rules you out as a woman that is allowed to enter into the life of that high value man. And a lot of you sisters don't realize you do this. So just a piece of advice to you, stop doing that. Yeah, should a guy make enough money? Yeah, sure. Do you need to know how much money? No. Can he afford you? Let your Wali find out. Your Wally will probably tell you anything, every way, and anything, everything anyway. But a lot of y'all want to circumvent your Wally, you know, your Wakil. So the kind of rules that out. So when you do this stuff, you're taking a risk and you're taking a gamble. You're putting your marriage fate in your own hands when you take these actions. When you go out there, and you start engaging brothers, on apps and whatever else. So if you're gonna do that, which I don't advise, but if you're gonna do it, then at least do it smart. Stop asking these just goofy, boring questions. You know what? I should really do like a montage of all of the conversations I've had with sisters on multiple apps, and you'd be amazed. I'd say 80%. You're just throwing a number out there. It's probably higher, but I haven't done the math, but I'm just saying, just by looking at the interactions, probably something like 80% of y'all sisters ask the same opening questions. Do you just know how just pathetic that conversation? And that's what goes through my mind, you know. And it just completely kills the vibe. I don't care how attractive she is. I've met some attractive sisters, and it's an immediate killer of any sort of vibe that you think you can have with her. And redeeming yourself is almost impossible. And I mean, you might say, "Oh, Abuamerican, you're a high value," not in your eyes, but whether you like to accept it or not, I'm not an ugly guy. You know how many women I meet? So just imagine a guy who is, according to your standard, high value and attractive. You think he's not having similar experiences where women, he talks to women regularly. Women are, constantly trying to approach him. He's, constantly meeting women on apps, whatever else, here, there, that, the other. You don't think he hasn't gone through that whole conversation spiel 9 billion times also? And when you come with it, it's just like, hey, yeah, nice to meet you too. It's not a job interview. It kind of is, but it's not. This is a person you're supposed to marry and live with. Y'all all say you want this happily ever after with my best friend and yada yada. And you tell me he's gonna be so amazing. We're gonna make TikToks together. You gonna make TikToks together at his job? Why are you asking about his work and his career and his this and his that and that and all these just it's like something that you'd sit across the desk from somebody who's trying to give you, loan you money for a business venture or something. Or you're trying to make a career move and you're justifying why you should move up in career. Sister, stop doing that. Stop asking dudes these career questions, these just job interview style questions. Stop being disagreeable. Let a red flag go up in your mind. It's perfectly fine to let a red flag go off in your mind. Note it and don't forget it. Heck, sister, write it down. Get a pen and write it down. I asked him this question, he dodged it. It's not a problem. It really isn't. It's perfectly acceptable to have red flags for a man. I wrote an entire vetting guide about red flags of women. I wrote an entire guide. It's not even finished. I need to write part 2 because there's so many red flags and sisters out there, this one included. So it's fine for a man to have red flag. He dodged some questions. Why is he being dodgy? It's fair enough. You're a woman. You are physically weaker than a man. And I don't mean this as an insult, but in general, men tend to be more clever than women. Men who control their thirst and use that self-control to get what they want. They're manipulators, they're scammers, they're this, that, the other. They're sometimes dangerous. That perfectly fine that you would be suspicious of those dudes. Those dudes, in general, those type of guys, they are significantly more clever than women because they have experience. They have the ability to take risks and chances that aren't physically detrimental to them, or if it is, they can battle and fight it out through them. So, in general, men are more clever than women when they have their thirst under control. Maybe you don't want to hear that, but it's a simple fact. So it's fine for you to throw up red flags. That's perfectly acceptable. And if it's too many to the point where you're yeah, I can't deal with this, that's fine. But stop when you're dealing with a dude who's clearly, demonstrably high value. Is your best behavior time. That whole strong, independent woman type of stuff, I'm gonna push through. Well, what are you doing like that? Well, why are you here? Oh, you're there. Oh, do you have any exes? Why? Why? Why do you care? Don't ask about his exes. I guarantee you, high value man, he's generally not going to ask you. Generally, he's not going to ask you about your exes. He's going to try and figure it out. Yeah, obviously, because nobody wants a girl that everybody on the block has had. So he's going to do his due diligence, obviously. But, they're clever enough to know that's like, asking someone direct questions about something sensitive is pretty goofy because they're socially not inept. You, on the other hand, ask a stupid, sensitive question about your personal life. I don't even know if I like you. I don't know your last name, Fatima. Why are you asking me personal questions? We might not be talking next week. Now you're going to be walking around the world with all my personal information and my personal life, making up entire stories about what you think I am and who you think I am. You're not going to do that to yourself. Let people go out here and have a negative perception of you. Sister, how many times you been married? You might have been married 4 times. You might have 4 times been married to like abusive men. You could completely like not be at fault other than you got a wali or wakil that picks you bad men. How many times you married, sister? Generally, it's like you're not going to say anything about that, or you're going to duck that question, right? Because you don't want anybody out here having bad perceptions of you. You're going to put your best foot forward, because you don't want people to have a bad perception of you. So why are you asking questions to guys that, he's not going to want to have like someone walking around having a bad perception of him? And it's not true. It's just based upon their like, crazy ideas that they put together, some story they put together in your head. And you sisters are pros at that. Y'all put together these magnificent stories in your heads from like 2 pieces of information. His name is Ahmed, and he's from Birmingham. That makes him horrible. Y'all really just do stuff like that. And if you don't think you do, then you don't know how you are as sisters in general. Y'all be out here just like coming up with some wild conclusions, which is another thing, on its own. Stop doing that too, sisters. Stop coming up with wild conclusions. But that's something you do to everybody, But anyway, stop doing that. If you want a high value man, stop asking him stupid interview style questions and stop being disagreeable, when he doesn't want to answer those questions and he just wants to get to know you as a person. Try to get to know who he is as a person, because that's who you're going to live with. That's the reality of who you're going to live with. High value guys, they seem to be able to make it no matter where they go in the world. You got engineers working in companies that has nothing to do with engineering and nothing to do with engineering in general. Guys are working in different positions, but they have a capability and a capacity, provably, that allows them to enter into any and almost every career field they want, unless it's like very specialized, medicine or something, whatever else. But generally, they're highly flexible. You got doctors managing companies that aren't even medicine based. You got engineers working in like, farming industry, but they're like doing, food process engineering. Okay, that might be engineering, but he's a farmer and he's doing very well for himself. What he does won't tell you anything about who he is. Even if what he does is haram, that will tell you something about who he is, actually, that he's a harami. But in general, if a guy is dealing with his life, he's living his life in a permissible way, because we're going to go with the best, we're going to have husnul done to the Muslims. He's doing the best he can. He's doing, things halal. What he does won't tell you who he is. What car he drives doesn't tell you who he is. Maybe the guy, he just doesn't like to spend money unnecessarily on things that he doesn't see as important. He doesn't drive an S-Class. He doesn't drive an AMG. Yeah, maybe he likes his Prius. Guy might have like 2 million in the bank and he's driving a Prius. Yes, that happens. It does. I've met dudes. I met the Sheikh of Abu Dhabi. Dude had like one of them old Nokia, them little things that look like this. He got one of them little tiny things. He was just like texting on like a black and white screen. I was like, what the heck? I'm sitting here with, at the time, it was like an iPhone 4S, I think it was. I was just like, man, like, look at this. That's crazy. How's the Sheikh Abu Dhabi? He got this little burner phone, and I'm walking around with an iPhone 4S. It's the craziest thing. He was perfectly content with it, completely using it, staying off grid. You never know why a guy's doing a particular thing. Maybe he doesn't want to, flaunt his wealth and then attract the wrong people in his life, including the wrong women. And if you're asking him about his career and all this other type of stuff, things that are related to his money and his life that only money can bring around, you're the wrong woman. And you're not going to get that high value guy. Inshallah, you made it this far. It's your man, Abuamerican. You can take it or leave it. I don't care. I'm out.